Okay, well, good morning or good afternoon by the time you see this video, perhaps. We are going through our solving equations notes. All right, this week in Algebra 2, we worked on the pre-test in the beginning of the week, which looked like this. Okay, so hopefully you're able to get that done as it's due today, 3 p.m. That would be Thursday, the 17th. All right, I will post a key. I'll scan this answer key and post that to Classroom shortly. All right, so you can take a look at that and see how you did. Hopefully that was a nice review of an Algebra 1 from maybe a year ago. All right, and now we are really honing our focus with solving equations, all right? So I'm gonna also post this answer key once it's complete and this video to help you, hopefully help you through your homework, all right? So I did the first few here already. There are some fractions involved here, but as you see the basic steps here when solving equations, we want to distribute, whenever applicable. When we see those parentheses, we want to distribute, like in the first problem, the second problem, the fourth problem even had some distributive property going on. All right, so after that, then we can start to combine like terms and simplify each side. Eventually, we're going to start to move variables all to one side to isolate them. And last but not least, solve, all right, with the inverse operations. So those are your solving equation steps. The first one here, you do have multiple options at arriving, at x equals -5. So some of you might have solved this differently than I did. I got rid of the fraction right away by multiplying -4 on both sides and then distributed and worked from there with a two-step equation. Okay, you could distribute first. You could even cross multiply and set up a proportion, which we're going to see later on in the notes. Okay, but either way, you get -5 for x, and you can plug that back in to confirm. All right, and you should get -15 equals -15. Okay, moving on over. Number 2, little distributive property, combine like terms. Then you can isolate the y and solve that with two steps. You end up with -8. Okay, as you go through these steps, feel free to reach out with any questions if you're confused, how we got from this beginning to the final answer, okay? With the third one here, had variables on both sides, so we had to move them over. I like to try to keep the coefficient positive, so I moved the 6a with addition to the left side. All right, so by adding 6a to both sides and then 7 to both sides, we end up with 16a equals 28. And from there, it's okay. Don't fear fractions. They're your friends, remember. Okay, you just reduce this for your final answer, 7/4. Okay, you don't even have to turn that into a decimal. You can leave it just like that. All right, and number 4 might be the toughest one on the worksheet with all the fractions. I was able to distribute and cross-cancel to simplify the fractions a little bit. All right, and from there, it's just really a two-step equation, okay? Ended up with q equals +8. That one wouldn't exactly be on a quiz. It might be more like an extra credit type question on a quiz, so I wouldn't worry too much about those fractions, all right? Moving on here, we have some more fractions. Number 5, it looks like I would do probably a common denominator would work well here in order to cancel out all these fractions. So I see a 3 here and a 6 over here, and technically this 21 just has a 1 over it. So you can feel free to write that in there if you want to put that over 1, okay? And then I would just multiply everything by the least common denominator, which is 6, okay? So if I multiply this by 6, and I can't forget the 21, I'd have to multiply that by 6, and also this -1/3, okay? So this would also have to be multiplied by 6 as well. Okay, once we do that, it should cancel out all our fractions. So the 6's are gone. We're left with 5w plus 21 times 6 gives you 126, I believe. Okay. And then from here, let's move over to the right-hand side. All right, where we're going to end up with -2. -1/3 times 6 is -2. All right, and then we can distribute that -2 into the 2w minus 9 quantity, all right? So now we're rocking and rolling. No more fractions exist, okay? So I would do my distributive property from here, get -4w plus 18, and I still have 5w plus 126 on the left. From here, I would probably add 4w just to stick with keeping it positive here. All right, and then subtract 126 to get 9w equals negative 108. All right, last step, divide by 9. And w equals negative 12. All right, and then you could always plug that back in to double check, and that should work out. All right. I'll leave number 6 for you guys to try. I think you can handle that one. Okay, you can get rid of that fraction similar to what I did in number 1 up top. So if you want to just get rid of that fraction right away, do your multiplication. All right, and then you can distribute, combine like terms, and solve from there. Okay, so try 6, and that'll be posted along with the answer key in a little bit. All right, and then on the back, we have some special cases that we need to review. Okay, so special cases here. Once we distribute this negative 8, okay, once we distribute the negative 8 to both those terms, we still have 40 minus 8x on the left equals negative 8x, and then negative times negative is a positive 40. Okay, so if you analyze both sides here, they're actually the same exact thing, right? Negative 8x plus 40 equals negative 8x plus 40. So we could eliminate the 8x if you want to add that to both sides, but some of you might already be remembering when you get a true statement, what does that mean in terms of the equation? Well, it means that there's all real solutions, okay? So you could say infinitely many solutions here. That means for whatever value you plug in for x, it will work out to be a solution. Okay, so it does not matter what number we plug in for x, it's going to work, all right, since they cancel out. So infinitely many solutions or all real numbers would work for that as well, all right? And then the second special case, you might remember that one as well. Once we distribute over here, 1 plus 3c equals 5 minus 5c plus 8c. Well, let's combine like terms. Negative 5c plus 8c. On the right-hand side, that's going to give me 5 plus 3c. Okay, so now if we do the same thing we did in the previous problem, we can cancel out the variables by subtracting 3c on both sides, but now we get 1 equals 5. So ask yourself, does 1 equal 5? Well, no, that's not a true statement. That's a false statement. So in this case, we have no solution. No solution at all. No number will work out for, in this case, C. Can't plug in any number to get a correct solution. So no solution in that special case. All right, and from here we have proportions and literal equations. Proportions, remember, we just do our butterfly method, if some of you remember that. Okay, we'll call it cross multiplication. So I'm going to cross multiply whenever we see a fraction set equal to another fraction. In this case, 5 times the quantity x plus 4 equals 3 times 2 is 6. All right, and from here, it's just like the front where we distribute and solve for x. 5x plus 20 equals 6. Okay, and then we can subtract 20 from both sides to get 5x equals negative 14. Once again, we end up with a fraction. No worries, x can equal negative 14 over 5. All right, that is allowed. So we will end up with that fraction. Make sure we always reduce if possible. In this case, we cannot, so we'll leave it as negative 14 over 5. Okay, so that's how you set up a proportion. You can try number 10 on your own. That'll be a double distribution going on there, a double distributive property on both sides. All right, so look out for that. And if you remember literal equations from Algebra 1, we follow the same steps that we would for a normal equation, but instead of a lot of numbers, now we have multiple variables that we have to deal with, but we still follow the same steps. So for example, we have the circumference formula here, C equals 2 pi r. Okay, so we have to solve this for pi. It'll always specify which variable we're solving for. Okay, so in this case, we're solving for pi. Well, I notice there's no addition or subtraction signs next to it, so that I know they must all be connected with multiplication. All right, so I'm going to just divide all in one step by 2r. So if I divide both sides by 2r, I'll actually be done. We'll get c over 2r equals pi. And that's it, final answer. Okay, so you follow your same solving equation steps, but now you have multiple variables involved. So try that with number 12. Okay, solving that for b, and then try that with 13 and 14 as well. Okay, answer key will be provided. Don't worry about the fractions. I think you'll be able to handle those. Just in this case, pretend like c is a number. All right, so if we wanted to get rid of that fraction, we would just multiply by it on both sides. So now we have a plus b equals 5c, and I think you can solve for b with one more step. All right, try it out, and then your homework will hopefully be easier after watching this video. Your homework is 1 through 10 on this worksheet. Okay, solving equations homework. You'll see some more fractions on there, some fun fractions, some proportions that we just went over, okay, like in 7 and 8, and of course some literal equations to finish it off with 9 and 10. Okay, so after watching this video, go through the homework and try to get that done by tomorrow at 3 p.m. on a Friday. Okay, hope this helps. Have a great day, everybody.